reading the purports as well. And the way Ujjwala Mataji wanted us to do was she wanted us to focus on the reading. So we will be doing non-stop reading for next maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes. And then in the last 5 to 10 minutes, we'll take any reflections or realizations. So if you all have any realizations as we read along, you can keep a note of that so we can share in the end. So let us start with the prayers. And if you all want to turn on your videos, feel free to turn on your videos as well. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm going to share my screen. Is everyone able to see?
Not yet. Yes, we can see now.
Okay. So I would request devotees to maybe like in the beginning, the summary is there. One person can read the summary and then take turns and maybe read 5 translations each. And then we can move on to the next person and we'll read until 8:50 maybe. So anybody would like to read, please go ahead and start with chapter 1.
Can I start?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Go ahead, Prabhu, please.
Yeah, Mataji, go ahead. Go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, pranams to you, Mataji. Chapter 1, the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. In this chapter, in response to a question by Maharaj Parikshit, Sukadev Goswami gives his conclusions concerning how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although the super soul, friend and protector of everyone, killed the Daityas, the demons, for the sake of Indra, the king of heaven. In his statements, he totally refutes the arguments of people in general who accuse the Supreme Lord of partiality. Shukadev Goswami proves that because the body of the conditioned soul is infected by the 3 qualities of nature, dualities arise such as enmity and friendship, attachment and detachment. For the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, there are no such dualities. Even eternal time cannot control the activities of the Lord. Eternal time is created by the Lord, and it acts under his control. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore, is always transcendental to the influence of the modes of nature, Maya, the Lord's external energy, which acts in creation and annihilation. Thus, all the demons killed by the Supreme Lord attain salvation immediately. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please continue.
The second question raised by Parikshit Maharaj concerns how Shishupal, although inimical toward Krishna from his very childhood and always blaspheming Krishna, attained salvation in oneness when Krishna killed him. Shukadev Goswami explains that because of their offenses at the feet of devotees, 2 attendants of the Lord in Vaikuntha named Jai and Vijay became Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh in Satyuga, Ravan and Kumbhakaran in the next Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Shishupal and Dantavakra at the end of Dwapar Yuga. Because of their fruitive acts, Jai and Vijay agreed to become Lord's enemies. And when killed in that mentality, they attained salvation in oneness. Thus, even if one thinks of Supreme Personality of Godhead in envy, he attains salvation. What then is to be said of devotees who always engage in Lord's service with love and faith? Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. My pranams to you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Pranams.
Mataji, 5 translations.
Yes, you can read 5 from text 1 to text 5.
Okay. Text 1. King Parikshit inquired, "My dear Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, being everyone's well-wisher, is equal and extremely dear to everyone. How then did he become partial like a common man for the sake of Indra and thus kill Indra's enemies? How can a person equal to everyone be partial to some and inimical towards others?" Text 2. Lord Vishnu himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all pleasure. Therefore, what benefit would he derive from siding with the demigods? What interest would he fulfill in this way? Since the Lord is transcendental, why should he fear the Asuras? And how could he be envious of them? Text 3. O greatly fortunate and learned Brahmana, whether Narayan is partial or impartial has become a subject of great doubt. Kindly dispel my doubt with positive evidence that Narayan is always neutral and equal to everyone. Text 4 and 5. The great sage Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, you have put before me an excellent question. Discourses concerning the activities of the Lord, in which the glories of his devotees are also found, are extremely pleasing to devotees. Such wonderful topics always counteract the miseries of the materialistic way of life. Therefore, great sages like Narada always speak upon Srimad Bhagavatam because it gives one the facility to hear and chant about the wonderful activities of the Lord. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva and then begin describing topics concerning the activities of Lord Hari." Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I will try perhaps here.
Pranams, Mataji.
Text 6. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is always transcendental to material qualities, and therefore he is called Nirguna, or without qualities. Because he is unborn, he does not have a material body to be subjected to attachment and hatred. Although the Lord is always above material existence, through his spiritual potency, he appeared and acted like an ordinary human being, accepting duties and obligations, apparently like a conditioned soul. Text 7. My dear King Parikshit, the material qualities, Sattva Guna, Rajaguna, Tamoguna, and all belong to the material world and do not even touch the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These 3 gunas cannot act by increasing or decreasing simultaneously. Text 8. When the quality of goodness is prominent, the sages and the demigods flourishes with the help of that quality, with which they are infused and surcharged by the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when the mode of passion is prominent, the demons flourish. And when ignorance is prominent, in Yaksa and Rakshasas flourish. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is present in everyone's heart, fostering the reaction of Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, and Tamoguna. Text 9. The all-pervading personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being. An expert thinker can perceive how he is present there to a large or small extent. Just as one can understand the supply of fire in a wood, the water is a water pot, or the sky within a pot, one can understand whether a living entity is a demon or a demigod by understanding that living entity's devotional performances. A thoughtful man can understand how much a person is favored by the Supreme Lord by seeing his actions. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates different type of bodies offering a particular body to each living entity according to his character and fruitive actions. The Lord revives all the qualities of material nature, sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. Then as the super soul, he enters each body and influences the qualities of creation, maintenance, annihilation, using sattva guna for maintenance, rajo for creation, and tamoguna for annihilation. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams to you,
Hare
pranams to
Krishna,
every
Prabhu.
devotee.
Pranams.
Yeah, text 11. O great King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of the material and spiritual energies, who is certainly the creator of the entire cosmos, creates the time factor to allow the material energy and the living entity to act within the limits of time. Thus, the Supreme Personality is never under the time factor nor under the material energy. O King, the time factor enhances the Sattva Guna. Thus, although the Supreme Lord is the controller, he favors the demigods, who are mostly situated in Sattva Guna. Then the demons, who are influenced by Tamo Guna, are annihilated. The Supreme Lord induces the time factor to act in different ways, but he is never partial. Rather, his activities are glorious, and therefore he is called Urusrava. Text 13. Formerly, O king, when Maharaja Yudhishthira was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, the great sage Narada, responding to his inquiry, recited historical facts showing how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always impartial, even when killing demons. In this regard, he gave a vivid example. Text 14 to 15. O king, at the Rajasuya sacrifice, Maharaja Yudhishthira, the son of Maharaja Pandu, personally saw Sisupala merge into the body of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Therefore, struck with wonder, he inquired about the reason for this from the great sage Narada, who was seated there. While he inquired, all the sages present also heard him ask his question. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Pranams.
My pranams to you, Mataji. Text 16. Maharaja Yudhishthira inquired, "It is very wonderful that the demon Sishupala merged into the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though extremely envious. This Sayuja Mukti is impossible to attain even for great transcendentalists. How then did the enemy of the Lord attain it?" Text 17. O great sage, we are all eager to know the cause for this mercy of the Lord. I have heard that formerly a king named Vina blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that all the Brahmanas consequently obliged him to go to hell. So Shupala should also have been sent to hell. How then did he merge into the Lord's existence? 18. From the every beginning of his childhood, when he could not even speak properly, Sishupala, the most sinful son of Dhamakosha, began blaspheming the Lord, and he continued to be envious of Sri Krishna until death. Similarly, his brother Dantavakra continued the same habits. Text 19. Although these two men, Sishupala and Dantavakra, repeatedly blasphemed the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, Krishna, the Supreme Brahman, they were quite healthy. Indeed, their tongues were not attacked by white leprosy, nor did they enter the darkest region of hellish life. We are certainly most surprised by this. Text 20. How was it possible for Shishupala and Dantavakra, in the presence of many exalted persons, to enter very easily into the body of Krishna, whose nature is difficult to attain? Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pranams to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Pranams.
Text 21. This matter is undoubtedly very wonderful. Indeed, my intelligence has become disturbed just as the flame of a candle is disturbed by a blowing wind. O Narada Muni, you know everything. Kindly let me know the cause of this wonderful event. Text 22. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, after hearing the request of Maharaja Yudhishthira, Narada Muni, the most powerful spiritual master who knew everything, was very pleased. Thus he replied in the presence of everyone taking part in the yajna. Text 23. The great sage Sri Narada Ji said, O king, blaspheming and praise, chastisement and respect are experienced because of ignorance. The body of the conditioned soul is planned by the Lord for suffering in the material world through the agency of the external energy. Text 24. My dear king, the conditioned soul, being in the bodily conception of life, considers his body to be his self and considers everything in relationship with the body to be his. Because he has this wrong conception of life, he is subjected to dualities like praise and chastisement. Text 25. Because of the bodily conception of life, the conditioned soul thinks that when the body is annihilated, the living being is annihilated. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the Supreme Controller, the super soul of all living entities. Because he has no material body, he has no false conception of I and mine. It is therefore incorrect to think that he feels pleasure or pain when blasphemed or offered prayers. This is impossible for him. Thus, he has no enemy and no friend. When he chastises the demons, it is for their good. And when he accepts the prayers of the devotees, it is for their good. He is affected neither by prayers nor by blasphemy. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. My
Hare
pranams.
Krishna, Prabhu. Pranams.
Text 26.
Therefore, by enmity or by devotional service, by fear, by affection, or by lusty desire, by all of these or any one of them, if a conditioned soul somehow or other concentrates his mind upon the Lord, the result is the same. For the Lord, because of his blissful position, he is never affected by enmity or friendship. Text 27. Narada Muni continued, by devotional service one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity toward him. That is my opinion.
A grassworm, text 28 to 29. A grassworm confined in a hole of a wall by a bee always thinks of a bee in fear and enmity, and later becomes a bee simply because of such remembrance. Similarly, if the conditioned souls somehow or other think of Krishna, who is Sachid Ananda Vigraha, they will become free of from their sins. Whether thinking of him as their worshipful Lord or an enemy, because of constantly thinking of him, they will regain their spiritual bodies. Text 30. Many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna and great attention in giving up sinful activities. This great attention may be due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating on one's mind upon him.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pranams to you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, pranams.
Text 31. My dear King Yudhishthira, the gopis in their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishupal and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familial relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we, the general devotees, by our devotional service, have obtained the mercy of Krishna. Text 32. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home back to Godhead. Atheists like King Veena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. Text 33. Narad Muni continued, O best of the Pandavas, your 2 cousins Shishupal and Dantavakra, the sons of your maternal aunt, were formerly associates of Lord Vishnu, but because they were cursed by Brahmanas, they fell from Vaikuntha to this material world. Text 34. Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired, what kind of great curse could affect even liberated Vishnu Bhaktas, and what sort of person could curse even the Lord's associates? For unflinching devotees of the Lord to fall again to this material world is impossible. I cannot believe this. Text 35. The bodies of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual, having nothing to do with the material body, senses, or life air. Therefore, kindly explain how associates of the personality of Godhead were cursed to descend in material bodies like ordinary persons. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Pranams. Text 36. The great saint Narada said, once upon a time, when the 4 sons of Lord Brahma named Sanaka, Sanadana, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar were wandering throughout the 3 worlds, they came by chance to Vishnu Loka. Text 37. Although these 4 great sages were older than Brahma's other sons like Marichi, they appeared like small naked children, only 5 or 6 years old. When Jaya and Vijay saw them trying to enter Vaikuntha Loka, these 2 gatekeepers, thinking them ordinary children, forbade them to enter. Text 38. Thus checked by the doorkeepers Jaya and Vijay, Sanandana and the other great sages very angrily cursed them. You 2 foolish doorkeepers, they said, being agitated by the material qualities of passion and ignorance, you are unfit to live at the shelter of Madhudvisha's lotus feet, which are free from such modes. It would be better for you to go immediately to the material world and take your birth in a family of most sinful asuras. Text 39. While Jay and Vijay, thus cursed by the sages, were falling to the material world, they were addressed as follows by the same sages, who were very kind to them. O doorkeepers, after 3 births you will be able to return to your positions in Vaikuntha, for then the duration of this curse will have ended. Text 40. These 2 associates of the Lord, Jay and Vijay, later descended to the material world, taking birth as the 2 sons of Diti, Hiranyakashipu being the elder and Hiranyaksh the younger. They were very much respected by the Daityas and Danavas, demonic species. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Text 42. Translation. Desiring to kill his son Prahlada, who was a great devotee of Lord.
Mataji, we need to read from text 41.
It is okay. Sorry, Mataji. Text 41. Appearing as a Narasimhadev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari killed Hiranyakasipu when the Lord delivered the planet Earth, which had fallen in the Garbhodaka ocean. Hiranyakasa tried to hinder him, and then the Lord as Varaha killed Hiranyakasa. Text 42. Desiring to kill his son Prahlada, who was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu, Hiranyakasipu tortured him in many ways. Text 43. The Lord, the supreme soul of all living entities, is sober, peaceful, and equal to everyone. Since the great devotee Prahlada was protected by the Lord's potency, Hiranyakasipu was unable to kill him, in spite of enduring to do so in various ways. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Mataji.
Mataji, would you like to read two more, text 44 and 45?
Yes, Mataji. Text 44. Thereafter, the same Jaya and Vijaya, the two doorkeepers of Lord Vishnu, took birth as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, begotten by Vishrava in the womb of Kesini. They were extremely troublesome to all the people of the universe. Text 45. Narada Muni continued, my dear king, just to relieve Jaya and Vijaya of the Brahmana's curse, Lord Ramachandra appeared in order to kill Ravana and Kumbhakarna. It will be better for you to hear narrations about Lord Ramachandra's activities from Markandeya. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thanks, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pronouns to you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Text 46. In their third birth, the same Jaya and Vijaya appeared in a family of Kshatriya as your cousins, the sons of your aunt. Because Lord Krishna had struck them with his disc, all their sinful reasons have been destroyed, and now they are free from the curse. Text 47. These two associates of Lord Vishnu, Jaya and Vijaya, maintained a feeling of enmity for a very long time because of always thinking of Krishna in this way. They regained the shelter of the Lord, having returned home back to Godhead. Text 48. Maharaj Yudhishthir inquired, O my Lord, Narad Muni, why was there such enmity between Hiranyakasipu and his beloved son Prahlada Maharaj? How did Prahlad Maharaj become such a great devotee of Lord Krishna? Kindly explain this to me. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Maybe you can read.
Mataji?
Yeah, I'll just turn to the next chapter.
Okay.
You can read the first and second para.
Sure, Mataji. Hiranyakasipu, king of the demons. As described in this chapter, after the annihilation of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyaksha's sons and his brother Hiranyakasipu were very much aggrieved. Hiranyakasipu reacted very sinfully by trying to diminish the religious activities of people in general. However, he instructed his nephews about a history just to diminish their agreement. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as the boar and killed Hiranyakasipu's brother Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakasipu was very much aggrieved. In anger, he accused the Supreme Personality of Godhead of being partial to his devotee and derided the Lord's appearance as Varaha to kill his brother. He began to agitate all the demons and Rakshasas and disturb the ritualistic ceremonies of peaceful sages and other inhabitants of earth. For want of the performance of yajna, sacrifice, and the demigods began wandering unseen on earth. Shall I continue, Mataji? I will stop here.
Mataji, we'll see if somebody else wants to read. And then we can.
I can continue, Mataji.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, pranams.
Pranam, Mataji. After finishing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies of his brother, Hiranyakashipu began speaking to his nephews, quoting from the Shastras about the truth of life. To pacify them, he spoke as follows: My dear nephews, for heroes to die before the enemy is glorious. According to their different fruitive activities, living entities come together within this material world and are again separated by the laws of nature. We should always know, however, that the spirit soul, which is different from the body, is eternal, inadjustable, pure, all-pervading, and aware of everything. When bound by the material energy, the soul takes birth in higher or lower species of life according to varying association, and in this way receives various types of bodies in which to suffer or enjoy. One's affliction by the conditions of material existence is the cause of happiness and distress. There are no other causes, and one should not be aggrieved upon seeing the superficial actions of karma. Hiranyakashipu then related a historical incident concerning a king Suyajna who resided in the country named Ushinara. When the king was killed, his queens, overwhelmed with grief, received instructions which Hiranyakashipu quoted to his nephews. Hiranyakashipu related an account of a Kulinga bird pierced by the arrow of a hunter while lamenting for his wife, who had also been shot by the same hunter. By narrating these stories, Hiranyakashipu pacified his nephews and other relatives and relieved them of lamentation. Thus, having been pacified, Diti and Rushabhanu, Hiranyakashipu's mother and sister-in-law, engaged their minds in spiritual understanding. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Would somebody like to read text 1?
Can I read that? Go ahead.
Second round.
Yes, we can do the second round. We can
I
start.
think somebody was trying to, yeah, if somebody is trying to read, please.
Go ahead, Mataji. I will do after you. It's fine.
Oh, thank you. Text 1. Sri Narada Muni said, my dear King Yudhishthira, when Lord Vishnu in the form of Varaha, the boar, killed Hiranyaksh brother Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry and began to lament. Text 2. Filled with rage and biting his lips, Hiranyakashipu gazed at the sky with eyes that blazed in anger, making the whole sky smoky. Thus he began to speak. Text 3. Exhibiting his terrible teeth, fierce glance, and frowning eyebrows, terrible to see, he took up his weapon, a trident, and thus began speaking to his associates, the assembled demons. Text 4 and 5. O Danavas and Daityas, O Dvimurdha, Trayaksha, Shambhara, and Shatabahu, O Hayagriva, Naumuchi, Paka, and Ilvala, O Viprachiti, Puloman, Shakun, and other demons, all of you, kindly hear me attentively and then act according to my words without delay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Pranams, Mataji.
My insignificant enemies, the demigods, have combined to kill my very dear and obedient well-wisher, my brother Hiranyaksh. Although the Supreme Lord Vishnu is always equal to both of us, namely the demigods and the demons, this time being devoutly worshipped by the demigods, he has taken their side and helped them kill Hiranyaksh. Text 7-8 translation. The Supreme Personality of God, it has given up his natural tendency of equality towards the demons and demigods. Although he is a Supreme Person now, influenced by Maya, he has assumed the form of a boar to please his devotee, the demigods. Just as a restless child leans towards someone, I shall therefore serve Lord Vishnu's head from his trunk by my trident, and with the profuse blood from his body, I shall please my brother Hiranyaksh, and who have so fond of sucking blood. Thus shall I too be peaceful. Text 9. When the root of a tree is cut and the tree falls down, If branches and twigs automatically dry up, similarly, when I have killed the diplomatic Vishnu, the demigods for whom Lord Vishnu is the life and soul, will lose the source of their life and wither away. Text 10, while I'm engaged in the business of killing Lord Vishnu, go down to the planet Earth, which is flourishing due to the Brahmanical culture and Kshatriya government. These people engage in austerity, sacrifice, Vedic study, regulative vows, and charity, destroy all the people thus engage. Hare Krishna. Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Text 11. The basic principle of Brahmanical culture is to satisfy Lord Vishnu, the personification of sacrificial and ritualistic ceremonies. Lord Vishnu is the personified reservoir of all religious principles, and he is the shelter of all the demigods, the great pitas, and the people in general. When the Brahmanas are killed, no one will exist to encourage the Kshatriyas to perform yagnas, and thus the demigods, not being appeased by yagna, will automatically die. Text 12. Immediately go wherever there is good protection for the cows and Brahmanas, and wherever the Vedas are studied in terms of Varnashrama principles. Set fire to those places and cut from the roots the trees there, which are the source of life. Text 13. Thus, the demons, being fond of disastrous activities, took Hiranyakashipu's instructions on their heads with great respect and offered him obeisances. According to his directions, they engaged in envious activities directed against all living beings. Text 14. The demons set fire to the cities, villages, pasturing grounds, cow pens, gardens, agricultural fields, and natural forests. They burned the hermitages of the saintly persons, the important mines that produced valuable metals, the residential quarters of the agriculturists, the mountain villages, and the villages of the cow protectors, the cowherd men. They also burned the government capitals. Text 15. Some of the demon took digging instruments and broke down the bridges, the protective walls, and the gates, gopuras of the cities. Some took axes and began cutting the important trees that produced mango, jackfruit, and other sources of food. Some of the demons took firebrands and set fire to the residential quarter of the citizens. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Pranams.
My pranams to you. It's text 16, right?
Yes, Mataji. You can read from 16 to 20.
Okay. Yeah. Thus distributed again and again by the unnatural occurrences caused by the followers of Hiranyakashipu, all the people had to cease the activities of Vedic culture, not receiving the results of yajna. The demigods all became distributed. They left their residential quarters in the heavenly planets and, unobserved by the demons, begin wandering on the planet Earth to see the disaster. Text 17, translation. After performing the ritualistic observances for the death of his brother, Hiranyakashipu, being extremely unhappy, tried to pacify his nephew. Text 18 and 19, translation. O Kinga, Hiranyakashipu was extremely angry, but since he was a great politician, he knew how to act according to the time and situation. With sweet words begin pacifying his nephews, whose names were Sakun, Sambhar, Drusti, Bhutashanapa, Rakra, Kalambha, Mahamba, Harimshu, and Utkha. He also consoled their mother, his sister-in-law, and Rushabhanu, as well as his own mother, Diti. He spoke to them all as follows. Text 20 translation. Hiranyakashipu said, My dear mother, sister-in-law, and nephews, you should not lament for the death of the great hero. For a hero, death in front of his enemy is glorious and desirable. Do you
Thank
want
you.
me to continue? Okay.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Mata. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pranams to
Hare Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji, pranams.
Text 21. My dear mother, in a restaurant or place for drinking cold water, many travelers are brought together, and after drinking water, they continue to their respective destinations. Similarly, living entities join together in a family, and later, as a result of their own actions, they are led apart to their destinations. Text 22. The spirit soul, the living entity, has no death, for he is eternal and inexhaustible. Being free from material contamination, he can go anywhere in the material or spiritual worlds. He is fully aware and completely different from the material body, but because of being misled by misuse of his slight independence, he is obligate to accept subtle and gross bodies created by the material energy and thus be subjected to so called material happiness and distress. Therefore, no one should lament for the passing of the spirit soul from the body. Text 23. Because of the movements of the water, the trees on the bank of a river, when reflected on the water, seem to move. Similarly, when the eyes move because of some mental derangement, the land appears to move also. Text 24. In the same way, O my gentle mother, when the mind is agitated by the movements of the modes of material nature, the living entity, although freed from all the different phases of the subtle and gross bodies, thinks that he has changed from one condition to another. Text 25 and 26. In his bewildered state, the living entity accepting the body and mind to be the self considers some people to be his kinsmen and others to be outsiders. Because of this misconception, he suffers. Indeed, the accumulation of such concocted material ideas is the cause of suffering and so called happiness in the material world. The conditioned soul, thus situated, must take birth in different species and work in various types of consciousness, thus creating new bodies. This continued material life is called samsara. Birth, death, lamentation, foolishness, and anxiety are due to such material considerations. Thus, we sometimes come to a proper understanding and sometimes fall again to a wrong conception of life. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pranams to you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, pranams.
Text 27. In this regard, an example is given from an old history. This involves a discourse between Yamaraja and the friends of a dead person. Please hear it attentively. Text 28. In the state known as Usinara, there was a celebrated king named Swagna. When the king was killed in battle by his enemies, his kinsmen sat down around the dead body and began to lament the death of their friend. Text 29 to 31. His golden bejeweled armor smashed, his ornaments and garlands fallen from their places, his hair scattered, and his eyes lustreless. The slain king lay on the battlefield, his entire body smeared with blood, his heart pierced by the arrows of the enemies. When he died, he wanted to show his prowess, and thus he had bitten his lips, and his teeth remained in that position. His beautiful lotus-like face was now black and covered with dust from the battlefield. His arms with his sword and other weapons were caught and broken. When the queens of the king of Usinara saw their husband lying in that position, they began crying, "O Lord, now that you have been killed, we also have been killed." Repeating these words again and again, they fell down, pounding their breasts at the feet of the dead king. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Text 32.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Pranams.
As the queens loudly cried, their tears glided down their breasts, becoming reddened by kumkuma powder, and fell upon the lotus feet of their husband. Their hair became disarrayed, their ornaments fell, and in a way that evoked sympathy from the hearts of others. The queens began lamenting their husband's death. Text 33. O Lord, you have now been removed by cruel providence to a state beyond our sight. You had previously sustained the livelihood of the inhabitants of Usinara, and thus they were happy, but your condition now is cause of their unhappiness. Text 34. O King, O hero, you were a very grateful husband and the most sincere friend of all of us. How shall we exist without you? O hero, wherever you are going, please direct us there so that we may follow in your footsteps and engage again in your service. Let us go along with you. Text 35. This time was appropriate for the body to be burned, but the queens, not allowing it to be taken away, continued lamenting for the dead body, which they kept on their laps. In the meantime, the sun completed its movements for setting in the west. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Text 36.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Pranams.
While the text 36, while the queens were lamenting for the dead body of the king, their loud cries were heard even from the abode of Yamraj. Assuming the body of a boy, Yamraj personally approached the relatives of the dead body and advised them as follows. Text 37. Sri Yamaraj said, "Alas, how amazing it is! These persons who are older than me have full experience that hundreds and thousands of living entities have taken birth and died. Thus they should understand that they also are apt to die, yet still they are bewildered. The conditioned soul comes from an unknown place and returns after death to that same unknown place. There is no exception to this rule, which is conducted by material nature. Knowing this, why do they uselessly lament?" Text 38. It is wonderful that these elderly women do not have a higher sense of life than we do. Indeed, we are most fortunate, for although we are children and have been left to struggle in material life unprotected by father and mother, and although we are very weak, we have not been vanquished on or eaten by ferocious animals. Thus, we have a firm belief that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given us protection even in the womb of the mother, will protect us everywhere. Text 39. The boy addressed the women, "O weak women, only by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never diminished, is the entire world created, maintained, and again annihilated. This is the verdict of the Vedic knowledge. This material creation, consisting of the moving and non-moving, is exactly like his plaything. Being the Supreme Lord, he is completely competent to destroy and protect." Text 40. Sometimes one loses his money on a public street where everyone can see it, and yet his money is protected by destiny and not seen by others. Thus, the man who lost it gets it back. On the other hand, if the Lord does not give protection, even money maintained very securely at home is lost. If the Supreme Lord gives one protection, even though one has no protector and is in the jungle, one remains alive. Whereas a person well protected at home by relatives and others sometimes dies, no one being able to protect him. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. I was just thinking we'll complete this section if that's okay with everybody. Is that okay?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Yes. So text 41.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Text 41. Every conditioned soul receives a different type of body according to his work, and when the engagement is finished, the body is finished. Although the spirit soul is situated in subtle and gross material bodies in different forms of life, he is not bound by them, for he is always understood to be completely different from the manifested body. Text 42. How much should I go, Mataji?
You can read till 45, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you. Just as a householder, although different from the identity of his house, thinks his house to be identical with him, so the conditioned soul, due to ignorance, accepts the body to be himself, although the body is actually different from the soul. His body is obtained through a combination of portions of earth, water, and fire, and when the earth, water, and fire are transformed in the course of time, the body is vanquished. The soul has nothing to do with this creation and dissolution of the body. Text 43. As fire, although situated in wood, is perceived to be different from the wood as air, although situated although situated within the mouth and nostril, is perceived to be separate, and as the sky, although all pervading, never mixes with anything. So the living entity, although now encased within the material body of which it is the source, is separate from it. Text 44. Yamraj continued, O lamenters, you are all fools. The person named Suyajana for whom you lament is still lying before you and has not gone anywhere. Then what is the cause of your lamentation? Previously he heard you and replied to you, but now, not finding him, you are lamenting. This is contradictory behavior, for you have never actually seen the person within the body who heard you and replied. There is no need for your lamentation, for the body you have always seen is lying here. Text 45. In the body, the most important substance is the life air, but that also is neither the listener nor the speaker. Beyond even the life air, the soul also can do nothing, for the super soul is actually the director, in cooperation with the individual soul. The super soul conducting the activities of the body is different from the body and living force. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Text 46. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Text 46. The five material elements, the 10 senses, and the mind all combine to form the various parts of the gross and subtle bodies. The living entity comes in contact with his material bodies, whether high or low, and later gives them up by his personal prowess. This strength can be perceived in a living entity's personal power to possess different types of bodies. As long as the spirit soul, text 48 and 47, as long as the spirit soul is covered by the subtle body, consisting of the mind, intelligence, and false ego, he is bound to the results of his fugitive activities. Because of this covering, the spirit soul is connected with the material energy and must accordingly suffer conditions and reversals continually, life after life.
Text 48. It is fruitless to see and talk of the material modes of nature and their resultant so-called happiness and distress as if they were factual. When the mind wanders during the day and a man begins to think himself extremely important, or when he dreams at night and sees a beautiful woman enjoying with him, these are merely false dreams. Similarly, the happiness and distress caused by the material senses should be understood to be meaningless. Text 49. Those who have full knowledge of self-realization, who know very well that the spirit soul is eternal, whereas the body is perishable, are not overwhelmed overwhelmed by lamentation. But persons who lack knowledge of self-realization certainly lament. Therefore, it is difficult to educate a person in illusion. Text 50. There was once a hunter who lured birds with food and captured them after spreading a net. He lived as if appointed by death, personified as the killer of the birds. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Text 51.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my pranams to you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
Yeah, text 51. While wandering in the forest, the hunter saw a pair of Kalinga birds. Of the two, the female was captivated by the hunter's lure. Text 52. O queens of Suyagna, the male Kalinga bird, seeing his wife put into the greatest danger in the grip of Providence, became very unhappy. Because of the affection, the poor bird, being unable to release her, began to lament for his wife. Text 53. Alas, how miraculous is Providence! My wife, unable to be helped by anyone, is in such an awkward position and lamenting for me. What will Providence gain by taking away this poor bird? What will be the profit? Text 54. If unkind Providence takes away my wife, who is of my body, why should he not take me also? What is the use of my living with half of my body? Bereaved by loss of my wife, what shall I gain in this way? Text 55. The unfortunate baby birds, bereft of their mother, are waiting in the nest for her to feed them. They are still very small and have not yet grown their wings. How shall I be able to maintain them? Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Text 56.
Should I read, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
It's 56. Because of the loss of his wife, the Kulinga bird lamented with tears in his eyes. Meanwhile, following the dictations of mature time, the hunter, who was very carefully hidden in the distance, released his arrow, which pierced the body of the Kulinga bird and killed him. Text 57. Thus Yamaraj, in the guise of a small boy, told all the queens, you are all so foolish that you lament, but do not see your own death. Afflicted by a poor fund of knowledge, you do not know that even if you lament for your dead husband for hundreds of years, you will never get him back alive. And in the meantime, your lives will be finished. Text 58. Hiranyakashipu said, while Yamaraj, in the form of a small boy, was instructing all the relatives surrounding the dead body of Suyagna, everyone was struck with wonder by his philosophical words. They could understand that everything material is temporary, not continuing to exist. Text 59. After instructing all the foolish relatives of Suyagna, Yamaraj, in the form of a boy, disappeared from their vision. Then the relatives of King Suyagna performed the ritualistic funeral ceremonies. Text 60. Therefore, none of you should be aggrieved for the loss of the body, whether your own or those of others. Only in ignorance does one make bodily distinctions, thinking, who am I? Who are the others? What is mine? What is for others? Text 61. Sri Narada Muni continued, Diti, the mother of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh, heard the instructions of Hiranyakashipu along with her daughter-in-law, Rushabhanu, Hiranyaksh's wife. She then forgot her grief over her son's death and thus engaged her mind and attention in understanding the real philosophy of life. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you all for reading. So I'll stop sharing the screen. So if anybody has any reflections, realizations, anything that you liked in today's reading, please unmute and share.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams.
I really like in the last chapter, the first chapter, the glorification of the Lord, that how he is not affected by anyone's enmity or not even by affection of anyone. So even somebody is envious to him, he kills them. It's for their benefit. And if somebody is offering prayers to him and he accepts those prayers, it's the benefit of those people. He is equal all the time. And later on, some of the verses he said is that even if one meditate on the Lord in enmity or in fear or maybe in devotion, it has equal effect. He is equal to all of them. And it was really beautiful to hear that just Lord is just asking to meditate on him, like just meditating on him is beneficial for all of them. So I was just thinking, when we take darshan, when we read about him, if I can remember that how important it is to take that darshan along with me, that meditation with me. So thank you, Mataji.
Yes,
Hare
Madam.
Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing. Wonderful. So actually, the two questions that were asked in the beginning of the first chapter, Maharaj Parikshit is asking that why Lord appears to be partial. And as you explained, that Lord is beyond the dualities of material nature. And whatever arises, like, is because of the three modes of material nature. And Lord is not really affected, like how conditioned souls are affected. And also you also brought up that point, like how the second question that was asked, like how Shishupal achieved liberation. So it's like because he was constantly meditating on the Lord, so that quality, whether it is in enmity or it is in love, but the meditation on Lord is important. So thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing those reflections. Anybody has anything else to share?
Hare Krishna, I can share a couple of points.
Hare
So
Krishna.
here, as Mataji was wonderfully explaining the points and the questions, I think like the story of Shishupal, it comes from Jaya and Vijaya, like how Jaya and Vijaya, they were gatekeepers, and like they offended the great sages, and they were cursed to be born as demons. So the three births that they took were in Satya Yuga as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and then in Treta Yuga, Ravana and Kumkarana, and in Dwapar Yuga as Shishupal and Dantavantara. So in here they're saying that, like, for Shishupal, like because like we already spoke, like he attained oneness with Lord, because though in enmity, he was constantly meditating about the Lord, and his intense focus, even though out of hatred, like eventually led him to salvation. But in the same chapter, like further down, they're talking about King Vena. So King Vena did not, though he also had enmity, but he did not get liberation, mainly because his actions or his thoughts, it did not involve any kind of absorption in the Lord, like either positive or negative. So like unlike Shishupal or Kansa, who they were constantly thinking about Krishna, like Vena completely rejected that part, and because of that, he rather than getting liberation, like he was condemned to hell actually. So that was one point. And then in chapter 2, so here in chapter 2, like after Hiranyaksha is killed by Lord in the Varaha form, so Hiranyakashipu is like, he's very angry. So he's accusing the Lord of being very partial towards the demigods, and that is, causing a lot of unrest among the sages. So then, but his family is lamenting, but he's sharing very good spiritual truths about soul, about karma, to pacify the family. So he has a lot of good knowledge, but despite having his knowledge, he's using it to justify his anger towards Lord Vishnu, basically. So it's like somehow misinterpreting the real part. Like, so here and further, like, Hiranyakashipu and Yamaraj, they are highlighting this part that soul is eternal, and it is distinct from the body, and then misidentifying it can lead to unnecessary grief or other. And then, like, the story of Smarat Suyagna, and then this Kulinga bird, like how his attachment towards his wife and children finally eventually also led to his own death. So, and in the end, like the examples which is giving, so because of that, Diti and this Rishabhanu, they are overcoming their grief through the teachings of Hiranyakashipu and Yamaraj. So they are kind of redirecting their mind more towards on the spiritual side of it. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Thank you so much. Very nicely summarized, Prabhu. So I was also seeing, like, why I was also thinking, like, Vena was not given salvation versus Shishupal was given. So you highlighted that point, because Shishupal was constantly thinking of the Lord, while Vena was completely neglecting that point. So because of that, he had to go to hell, versus Shishupal was given Sahajya Mukti. And also, in the second chapter also, as you were mentioning, like, Hiranyakashipu is a big politician. On one side, he's trying to tell all the demons that go and destroy all the cows, the brahmanas, go and create disturbance in the sacrifice of the yagnas, so that way, whatever people are trying to achieve, whatever good they're trying to achieve by pleasing Lord Vishnu, that does not happen. And then on the other hand, he's trying to give all the philosophy to his sister-in-law, to his mother, and he's trying to pacify them. So he has knowledge, but again, his bad qualities or his demonic nature is so strong that even though he has the knowledge, his demonic qualities are overpowering his knowledge and intelligence. So thank you for highlighting those points. Anybody else has anything else to share?
May I say something, Mataji?
Sure, Mataji.
For the second chapter, as you and Prabhu was speaking, I was just thinking about that Hiranyakashipu mentality in ourselves. Also, that, in spite of knowing it for so long, that we are spirit souls, we are this body, and so much understanding of it. I think the three modes of natures are so strong on us that it becomes really difficult to actually behave in that way, even if each one of us know about it. But then I was thinking that Lord Krishna has given us a solution for it, that, okay, yes, mama maya duritya mami vaye prapadyanti maya metam tarantite. So, attaching to me will take you away from that. He has given us the solution by our own knowledge. Like Hiranyakashipu has so much knowledge, and the similar kind of effect Ravana also has. He was so knowledgeable, but by their own, it is so difficult to come over it. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our Gurujanas, we have been given, such a small speck of dust has been given a solution, and we are trying to work on that. Thank you, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much for again, emphasizing on the point that we belong to such a glorious Guru Parampara. So we are very much under the shelter of all the Gurujanas. And as you said, it's very hard to come out of these modes on our own effort. It is only because of the descending mercy that we are able to gradually come out of the modes. So thank you, Mataji, so much for focusing on this very important point. So if anybody has anything else they can share. If not, we can just end the class here, and then we'll continue next week again from chapter 3. So, Guru Parampara ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaved Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.